Okay, today we'll be looking at some examples of transforming sine and cosine functions. The first thing I want to change for this formula, let me actually, they use K. It's normally denoted as B, but this is the transformation of sine. Notice they say sine and cosine. They only have sine down here, but cosine is the exact same thing. We have A, which is the amplitude, times cosine, times B, times X, times C, which is also known as the phase shift, plus D, which is also known as the vertical shift, and or the midline. So let's go on. It says determine the amplitude and period of each function. So this is just basically for an example, a couple of examples. And so if I look at this, going back to the same exact formula here, we know that my coefficient here is my amplitude. So the amplitude for this, there's nothing there, we know it's 1. The period is going to give me, I have the formula here, 2 pi over b. My b for this one is 4. So my period, I'm just going to put p next time, is 2 pi over 4, or, because I have to always reduce, pi over 2. For the next one, my amplitude is my coefficient again, which is 4. My period is, there's a coefficient of 1 here, so it's 2 pi over 1, but we don't normally write it like that in math, we just say 2 pi. And then last one, my amplitude is 3, and my period is 2 pi over 2/3. When I evaluate that, I get 3 pi. Let's look at some graphs. It said, oh, actually no. Let's do another example. It says identify the phase shift, vertical shift, midline, amplitude, period, domain, and range. So the phase shift is my negative C value, and this is my C value. It's already negative, so let's go back to the formula just so you can recall. So it's usually plus C. I want the negative of that. So this is going to be pi over 4. It's my phase shift. My vertical shift, and we can go back, is D. And my phase shift is -2. My midline is this equation here, which is y equals -2. My amplitude is my coefficient here, so that is 1/2. My period is 2 pi over b, which is going to give me 2 pi over 3. The domain, always, always, always for sine and cosine, is all real numbers. So I can denote it like that, or I can say negative infinity to positive infinity. Please forgive my handwriting. And my range is just my highest y value to my lowest y value. So I know that I have this shift here of -2, and I know 1/2 is my amplitude, so that's how tall it is. So if I do 1/2 plus 2, I know the top of it will be 2.5. And if I subtract 1/2 from this 2, 1/2 minus 2, I get negative 0.5, negative 1.5, excuse me. So y is less than, greater than or equal to negative 1.5 all the way up to 2.5. All right, now let's look at some graphs. It says find the period and the amplitude. So here I have an example, a really easy example. So first of all, the amplitude is the height of it, and so my amplitude is 4. My period goes from one tip to the next tip. So it looks like this goes from here to 2 pi. So this period is 2 pi. Same thing here. Looks like my height, because the midline here looks like it's at 0, looks about halfway. So my amplitude is 5. And we can see that because it goes from 5 to negative 5. So it's positive. It's the absolute value. So it's from the top to the bottom. Going from one tip to the next tip goes from negative pi to pi. And so this goes all the way to a whole thing of pi plus another whole thing of pi. So that period is also 2 pi. And I hope this helps.